Alright, let's get started. Did anyone go to Food Bazaar tonight? I attended and now I'm in a very heavy food coma. So that was an event that SGA helped fund, so it was super successful and super delicious. So, Student Senate is officially in session on Sunday, November 4th. We're going to begin with the roll call. AC Welch, Reverend President Becker, VP AA Murphy, here. VPSA Tombu, here. Treasurer Ercolani, here. Assistant Treasurer Weber, Ace Chair Mystic, here. Services Coordinator Tibetamon, Concerts Chair Christensen, DOC Logan, hello. Senator Stallings. Thank you. What is your name? Lily Bolke. Okay.
Simon.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Senator Christian. Here. Senator Ferreira. Senator Moen. Here. Senator Vale. Is there a substitute for Senator Vale? Okay. Senator Gumidiala. Here. Senator Jones.
Here.
Senator Lloyd.
Here.
Senator Zernig.
Here.
Senator Nieto.
Here.
Senator Cure.
Here.
Senator McDowell. Is there a substitute for Senator McDowell? No? Okay. Senator Herbert.
Here.
Senator Piedra Santa.
Here.
Senator Collinger.
Here.
Senator Pierce. A sub. Senator Knapp. Arzu. Thank you. Senator Timberwolf. Is there a sub? No? ACE's co-director DeRoche? Yeah. But is there a substitute? No. Okay, thank you. ACE's co-director DeRoche. ACE's co-director Coleman. ACE's outreach coordinator Preston. Green Fund co-chair Higginhauser. Technical advisor Gould. CBS delegate Hill. SHIC delegate Cheslak. Scarlet and Black delegate Lily Bolke. Cool, thank you. All right, now we need to vote on the approval of the minutes. Do I see any hands for a motion to? I saw Senator Lloyd. Does anyone second that motion? Senator Piedra Santa. Okay, so all those in favor on voting for the approval of last Student Senate's minutes, please raise your hands. Yeah, we're just gonna do hands. All those in favor, nice and high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Can everyone raise their hands that's in favor? Thank you. Sorry, I just can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, all those opposed? All those abstaining? So if you didn't vote in favor or you didn't vote opposed, you're abstaining. So if anyone didn't vote for either of those, do you mind raising your hands for the abstention so we can record that? So all those abstaining, thank you. So that passes. So now we are actually going to vote on the approval of the minutes. So the polls are now open. Are they open? Yeah, the polls are open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining, and that is for the approval of last Student Senate's minutes. Yeah. Actually, let me just count to make sure.
Yeah. How many people were before?
14. Yeah. We are looking for 13. Oh, with everyone in favor? No, that can't be right. No, just kidding. Sorry, my bad. Math is not my strong suit. Everyone in favor of the approval of last Student Senate meetings. That vote passes. So now we're going to move into our agenda items, which is public comments, announcements, and additional events. Senator Jones, can we get a mic, please, to Senator Jones? Thank you.
Hi, so this Tuesday, November 6th, 11 a.m. to 11:50 in this room, the Higher Learning Commission is doing a review of Grinnell College to accredit us, give us a reaccreditation. Basically, it's a bunch of people from outside the school who are kind of giving us a little report card. So this event is a discussion between that board of people and students. So this is a kind of a unique way to get the admin to listen to our concerns if we go to this meeting and kind of talk about, maybe you want to talk about Shaq's being in a state of disarray and like not helpful, just to name one thing. Then they will like put that in the report, and the admin will have incentives to change it and work on that over the next 10 years. So that'd be a cool thing for senators to come to.
Thank you. President Becker? There's a mic right in front of your laptop.
Two things. One, I want to say welcome back to Lana. We missed you last week.
Oh, thank you.
And then two, the class of 2021 class ambassadors are throwing a talent show that will be at the end of the month, or I guess it'll be on the 16th. But auditions for the talent show are tomorrow and Tuesday from 5 to 7 in the Harris Center. And they are looking for people with talent. So if you have a talent you'd like to show off, or know someone who does, I strongly encourage you to go to that. There are posters around too. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or email me.
Thank you. Senator Gumijala?
Hey, so Reform is also meeting this Tuesday. It was going to be at 11, but we could push it back to 12 if people wanted to go to this thing that Declan talked about at 11. So yeah, it'll probably end up being at noon on Tuesday. We'll probably just, again, be going through these resolutions, and I would highly, highly recommend you to come to committee. That way we don't have to spend a ton of time talking about it here. So that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Senator Lloyd?
Hello. This Thursday, 4 p.m., location to be determined walk, Grinnell United Activism Collective. We are hosting a meeting, getting feedback from students about our racial justice campaign going to be starting very soon, about specific things we want to target to improve the social climate here at Grinnell, addressing the diversity plan and making concrete efforts. And that will be leading to many more things. There's going to be a Facebook event. I'll be emailing a lot of professors and stuff. So, yeah, keep an eye out.
Thank you. Senator Collinger?
So you probably saw the email about the student initiatives that came out, I think a couple of days ago. Please use your senator emails to literally just send the link. I don't care, but we need a certain amount of people in order to even just get this passed. So please, please, please use those lovely senator emails and just send the link, and you are golden. So yes, please. Is everyone typing that and putting? Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Pietrasanta?
So, at the middle school, we're starting a mentoring and tutoring program. The mentoring program's on Tuesdays from 3:30 to 5, and it's for students of color. So, if you're interested, you can hit me up. And then on Thursdays, there's a tutoring from 3:30 to 5 again, and that's open to all middle school students. And if you're also interested in tutoring, you can hit me up. We also have the same thing at the high school, and if you're interested in that, you can also just email me, or if you know anybody who's interested, just email me.
BPA Murphy.
I just have three quick things. One, the tutorial and advising committee is now will have student reps for the first time. I need one third or fourth year student who is interested. If any of you are interested in meeting about every other week with some deans and professors about tutorials and advising, please let me know. I would appreciate it a lot. Second thing is the office committee. Last week we made floor plans for our entryway in the SGA office, and it was pretty fun. Next week we're doing the same thing but with the meeting area. It's probably the most fun and influential of our committee meetings for all of the semester. So if you want to give input, please do come Thursday, 10 a.m. JRC office, the 222 SGA offices. After that we're going to be buying things and putting them together. Feel free to hit me up for an update if you want one. And then the third thing is, again, as Senator Jones was talking about, the Higher Learning Commission on Thursday. Please do come. I've heard about this from basically every administrator. They really do want to see student leaders in particular coming. So again, Tuesday, 11 o'clock. And please as well talk to your constituents about coming to this event, because turnout is one of the things that they are considering for our school. So make sure to show up, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further public comments, announcements, or events? No? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the ACE budgets. So if we could get a mic to ACE Chair Mystic, that would be wonderful. So we could discuss all these budgets.
Hey y'all, so we had quite a few budgets with a lot of numbers, a lot of money. We got 2 budgets from Soul Laugh and Reggaeton Gardner, and then Local Foods Thanksgiving, Sustainability Summit came ACSC week, and then Sackness Study Break. We had to bump the 3 that are being presented, 2 of them that are being presented today, to Student Senate to discuss more about like what's on the budgets. But yeah, any questions? Not really anything much.
So we don't need to vote on any of these because of the
Oh, we're
bump?
doing that now?
Okay.
Alright, that's cool. I guess the Latin American Festival, I wanna go.
Hello, I'm Carla. I'm Soul's co-leader. So, Latin American Festival, it's one of our biggest Soul events of the semester. It's where we get to showcase Latin American culture through performances, dances. As y'all can see, the majority, most of the money is for food. We're getting food from the Salvadorian restaurant that's in Des Moines, and we're also getting gluten-free and vegan options for people with food restrictions, and beverages, of course, important. The rest of it is mostly to decorate and things that are sort of kind of missing from our organization. So like the flags, I don't know, they disappear, people take them, and we need them so they can look really nice in Main Quad, which is where this is happening on the 17th. And the poster is coming from SGA, from the, what's it called, DOC people. Yes.
Thank you. This budget is now open to questions and discussion. If anyone has any questions about this budget, please feel free to speak. Do we have any questions? No? VPSA Tombu?
Why was the budget increased?
Ace Chair Mystic, do you want to talk to that, speak to that?
Treasurer Quinn?
Treasurer Ercolani, would you like to speak to that? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So SGA, as you all know, has a policy of having events that are asking for more than $1,000 or $1,000 or more come to the Senate and seek additional approval here. It's my personal policy, and that events that come close to $1,000 should also be discussed in this venue, just because it is a substantial amount of money, and we have had student groups in the past like BS their way under the $1,000 limit and like submit budgets for like $999, and I'm not a huge fan of that. And in order to try and prevent that, I've asked our committee chairs to try and bump up any budgets that are near $1,000 to $1,000, so that way everyone here can discuss them without the committee having to shoot them down first, like which for that to be appealed here, which wouldn't really be the actual wishes of the committee. This is just a way to get the senators, more senators than just show up to All Campus Events Committee to have input on this decision-making process.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments or questions regarding this budget proposal? Ace Chair Mystic?
Just to, not add specifically to what Quinn said, but specifically, I'm gonna, talk to Michael Sims and see if we can get this, as well as local foods Thanksgiving partially funded in the future by him, because Latin American Festival has been happening for a while now, and local foods Thanksgiving has been happening a while now, and they both now cost, over what other events normally cost. So we want to make sure that the school or the institution is playing their part in making sure these events are happening. So, yeah.
Thank you. Carla, do you have anything you would like to add to this before we move on? No? Okay, does anyone have any last comments or questions on this budget? Seeing none, we do have to vote on it because it is $1,000, so would anyone like to move into that procedure? A motion to, is that President Becker? Okay, anyone second that? Felipe? Okay, cool. So now, just raise your hands if you're in favor of moving to the voting process. Okay, raise your hands if you're opposed. Miles, was that an opposition? Okay, raise your hands if you're abstaining. So, okay, now we're officially going to move into the voting procedure. The polls are open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining, and this is a vote for $1,000 for the Latin American Festival hosted by Sol. We're just waiting on a few more. Felipe, do you have a clicker? Okay, has everyone voted? Yeah, the polls are closed. Okay, with 100% in favor, that budget passes. Congratulations.
The next budget is going to be local foods Thanksgiving. Speak more. Oh, bet. Sorry. So with this budget, move here. Okay. Can someone pass? No.
Can we get a-
Can you pass? Someone pass him a mic behind y'all. Could you? Somebody.
Should I just?
Yeah, just go for it. Just tell us what this budget's about.
So, if you're not previously familiar, Local Foods Thanksgiving is an event that happens every year, the Sunday before actual Thanksgiving. We serve a Thanksgiving meal to about 200 or 250 people who are students, faculty members, and people from the community. We source all of our food, so our produce and our turkeys for the event from local providers, so farms in the area. And it also serves as a fundraiser for Mid-Iowa Community Action that we collect money for there.
Alrighty, thank you. Ace Chair Mystic?
So just to add on some of the things the committee discussed about this budget, we thought that basically with this existing budget, or the recipes that are in this, if you were gluten-free and vegetarian, I think, and vegan, you can only eat roasted vegetables. So we were like, let's just have a switch with the budget so that they can have a meat alternative. So that's one thing that we considered or wanted to add.
Thank you, Ace Chair Mystic. Are there any questions or comments regarding this money requested? VPSA Tumbu? Can we get a mic to VPSA, please? Thank you.
What was the amount allocated last year for this budget? I believe around $1,100. I had allocated $1,200 for this, and I know that was an increase from last year because I think I increased everything.
The amount now is 12.
Is the amount, if this budget were to be approved right now, it would be $2,023.
Yeah, just make sure that the mic is on.
So one of the big increases in cost is that with the hell of rain that we got in September, most of the local providers have had a lot of crop failures and have had to increase their produce prices. And then also, we're still waiting on a exact cost estimate per pound from our turkey provider, and that was the upper limit that we were given. We expect it to be maybe actually lower, and we hopefully plan to not spend all of that, but that was our most conservative estimate.
Can I-
Thank you. Ace Chair Mystic?
What would you like me to do when you want me to jump into the conversation, raise my?
Yeah, just raise your name card so I can see.
Cool. I think that it would be reasonable if like the money that you guys don't end up spending on the turkeys, which I'm guessing is probably like $50 to $100 at least, y'all can spend on the meat alternatives for the turkeys.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to add to this?
You should all come.
Thank you. BPSA Tumblr?
So for right now, it's allocated. How many people do you expect that you can feed?
Do you mind speaking into the mic so that everyone can hear?
Like
Thank you.
250, 275. We'll probably cap it at 275 this year.
Do you have an estimate of like how many people went attended last year?
We didn't have an exact head count, but I think about 250.
So Senator Lloyd?
Is this a ticketed event? Like, how do people get like approved to attend? Do they just show up?
So we, at the tabling outside of the JRC and then at places around town, so at Micah and McNally's, we have signups that we create a guest list with, and then we just let people in by guest list at the door.
Thank you. Did I see a hand over? No? BPSA Tumblr?
Okay, I might have missed this, but where is this?
In quad.
Just a reminder, when everyone speaks, do you mind speaking clearly into the mic so that everyone can hear and so also that Dylan can record it for the minutes. Thank you. Do we have any further comments or questions about this budget? Seeing none, do you have anything left to add? No?
Nope.
Okay, thank you very much. So we do have to vote on this budget because it's over $1,000. So do I see a motion to previous question? Senator Pedro Santa, do I see a second? Carlos, you can't do that. Senator Herbert, okay. So all those in favor of moving to the voting procedure? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, so we are approved to move into the voting procedure, so the polls are now open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining, and this is to pass the budget for local foods Thanksgiving, and it is a budget requesting $2,023. All right, everyone's voted. With everyone in favor, this budget passes. Congratulations. You guys can clap. This is a happy thing. Good thing. Okay. All right. So now we have another budget from ACE, and it's ACSU week. So Sayla, would you like to get us started, or will the rep from ACSU like to jump on in? Zama? Okay, can we get a mic to Zama, please? Thank you very much.
Okay, so okay. ACSU week is coming up, which is basically when African American students on this campus like spend the entire week trying to spread, I guess, awareness on African and Caribbean issues. We do what's this thing called, a fundraiser for a cause every year. But mainly every day there's an event, and we're asking for funding for each of our events, which include a wellness day, like face mask type calm down thing upstairs. We have a FIFA tournament in here. We have a dance workshop. We have a head wrap, hair care type workshop, and I'm missing something. And I think tie dye, yes, tie dye on Tuesday. So yeah, most of the things that we asked for were like food related. And yeah.
Do you mind scrolling down the budget so that you can see everything on it? If everyone just wants to take a quick look at that. Is that good? Alrighty. Thank you, Zama. VPSA Tombu? Can we get a mic to VPSA Tombu, please? Thank you.
Why only 10? Oh, never mind. I read it wrong. How many? So for the shirts, how many shirts do you guys have? Like, okay. So this is kind of where like the fundraising aspect comes in. So it's gonna be a tie-dye workshop. There will be shirts there that are like available to tie-dye. But we're also selling ACSU t-shirts. So you can buy a t-shirt and tie-dye it there. And yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Is there a hand? Ooh. Oh, Ace Chair mistake, my bad. Thank you, guys.
So some of the things that the committee talked about with this budget, so one thing for sure, this is a well-attended week of events. Like, I only went to 2 and both of them were packed like crazy. So I'm sure this is gonna be another success. You know, we discussed some things about spaces and like how things can be more accessible. We basically added some funds for utensils is basically what the extra money was for. And yeah, the committee liked this budget. It's gonna be fun.
Thank you, Ace Chair Mystic. VPSA Tombu?
I remember last year, the head wraps went out like pretty quickly. So I was wondering if did you guys increase the amount of head wraps that you're gonna get? From 30 to 50. Okay. So like, it's like a yard per person. So that's 50 people.
Thank you. Are there any more questions, comments, anything to add? Ace Chair Mystic, do you have anything left to add to this? Zelma, do you have anything else you want to share? No? Senator Lloyd?
Motion to previous question.
Thank you, you read my mind. Okay, does anyone second that? Senator Jones, all right. All those in favor of moving to the voting procedure on this budget? Yes, yes, yes. All those opposed? All those abstaining? All right, so we are now going to move into the voting procedure for this budget. The polls are open. We are voting on a budget of $1,007 for ACSU Week hosted by ACSU. We're still waiting on one more vote. Okay, the votes are all in, and that passes with 100% in favor. You get your money. Alrighty, so that, VPSA Tombu. Point of privilege, please speak into the mic. Thank you. It's just an accessibility thing, like, I really want to emphasize it.
Are you guys gonna have a poster possibly? Yeah, we're working on the posters. They're gonna be like, I don't understand, there's gonna be posters. I'll draw it.
Is everything okay? Yeah? Can we get a mic to Ace Chair Mystic? No, we're all good? Okay, all right, now all the ACE budgets have been discussed and voted upon. We are going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the SPC and services budget. So, Services Coordinator Tibatama, you wanna get started?
All right, we actually had like 7 budgets, but only 3 people showed up. Yay. The first budget was the Fly Fishing Club. They asked for $800, 800.75. We cut them down to $440 because part of their request was for waders, which are like, when you're going fishing, they're sort of what you wear, they're waterproof pants. We realized that one, we're kind of running out of money in this like SPC budget, so we wondered if they could go talk to either Corp, Bio, or Environmental Studies before we approved that. they seemed somewhat receptive. I just got an email back that unfortunately the problem with like bio is they tear a lot, but we'll work on that. The Korean Christians at Grinnell came back. They were in committee 2 weeks ago. We told them to try and get one of their students trained. They did for driving. They drive all the way to Des Moines and back. So they did go and get a student driver, which is great. So the budget was cut down and we approved it. And the final one was the Rocky Horror Picture Show. They wanted costumes for their performance. It's going to happen at the end of November. So look out. It's going to be fun.
Thank you, Services Coordinator Tim Tamois. Does anyone have any questions about these budgets? We do not need to vote on any of them, just so you know. But if there's any questions, comments, or concerns. No, do you have anything left to add? No? Alrighty. Thank you for the presentation of those budgets. We're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is a discussion on student leadership and academic... No, sorry. There's a vote on approval of stipend reform. So whoever's leading that, AC Welch? Can we get a mic to AC Welch, please? Thank you.
Okay, so I heard before Student Senate from a couple stipend committee members that this policy basically isn't going to work for them. It's not like what they want to be doing going forward. It was like intended to just put in the Constitution what you all voted on with the elastic clause earlier in the semester. So we did this reform. I no longer, I wrote this, I don't support this, this should be voted down. But this is a good real life example of why if Siamalara says you should come to reform committee, if you have a say on something or you have a stake in something, you should come. This was a 3-week discussion or so, and we wasted our time. So yeah, I want a motion to a vote, and I would suggest you vote it down.
So are you motioning to approve discussion right now?
Yes.
Yes. I see a lot of questions and comments, so I'm going to just kind of put that to the side for a second. Treasurer Ercolani, did you have something to add? Okay, can we get a mic down then? Thank you.
Rather than motion to vote and vote it down, can we motion to table this until the next session of Student Senate so we can make the changes and reform that should be made? Correct.
Yes. VPSA Tomku?
So can you tell me a little bit more about your opinions on this and what you think? Like, why do you want to vote it down?
It's just like, so earlier in the semester, the senators all voted, or like over 4/5 of the senators voted to use the elastic clause to go around like the existing stipend procedures that require 100 signatures for something to get on the ballot. Instead, it's just a submission to the stipend committee, and then they put it on to the ballot or don't. And there's also an appeal process if it's just this is the policy that like everyone voted on. So we're putting in the Constitution because it was just elastic clause before, and that's supposed to only last for 2 weeks, and then it should be like voted on as a amendment. The stipend people said this isn't exactly what they want to be doing, like the direction they want to go in, and so I'm not like a stipend committee member, but they know best what is best for stipend, and that's like really the goal of the thing, of the resolution. So if it's not good for them, then I don't think it should be approved.
VPSA Tomku?
Could the stipend members elaborate a little bit more on why they want the Senate to vote this down? Like the reasoning?
Yes, Senator Collender?
So first off, I want to thank you guys for like working so hard on it, and I apologize that this happened. I will be coming to the next reform committee. So one of the reasons, I think it was good that we tried this out in a way because it allowed, for more people to bring up different student initiatives. by not requiring like the 100 signatures, but at the same time, it was a little bit difficult to kind of there were a bunch of student initiatives, as you probably saw in the email, and it's been a little bit more difficult for students when it comes to like a lot of the student issues sound the same, or a lot of constituents that I've been talking to have been complaining that there were too many, and it was just kind of ridiculous. And I completely understand their concerns, and then also there's a concern of, well, you know, if a majority of those things get passed, then will we be able to completely dedicate all of our time to, say, 50 if they got passed? So I think it was a good idea in the beginning when it comes to accessibility, but maybe we can possibly change it so it's maybe a little bit less signatures, 100 signatures, but yeah, that was, yeah.
Thank you. President Becker? Can we get a mic to President Becker, please?
Yep. So as a refresher, when I brought the Elastic Clause forward, the idea was that 100 signatures is a lot, and I think there are a lot of issues on this campus that are minute to specific individuals, but when 1,500 people all have a small problem, then at that point it's a problem worth addressing. And so that was the intention behind the Elastic Clause and then the implementing the change moving forward. And thank you to Dylan, Siamla, and all the other members of Reform for doing this. I think we saw a lot of submissions, which was great, and was kind of the goal. And I think there are different ways we can approach resolving this. I think one important thing to note is that we need around 800 to 50% of the student body. It's been out for 3 days, and we're already at like 650. So, like, despite the fact that we have so many, we also have just like an insane amount of turnout this year, which is like really, really exciting. But I think some options moving forward, because this is all a trial. I mean, this is the previous setup that SciFun's been in, this has been in for a while. And so we want to try and find a way that works in a way that makes it accessible, but not a way that we have just like a ton and trying to figure this out. So I think one of the changes that we proposed when we Elastic Clause previously was that it would be within the committee's purview to remove something from the ballot when it's been submitted, and which is something that is reflected in the reform. And so the committee moving forward could be a little more stringent. I think another possibility is that there are certain things that people are already working on within SGA, and we put those on the ballot to get the student opinion polling for working with administration. We could not do that. I think there are different ways to cut down, but I think it is important to note that we have had a significant number of submissions and a significant number of submitted ballots. And so I think it's kind of a tricky situation and something we'll work through. I think there are different ways to kind of approach it, but I'm really happy with the way the process has gone this far, and I'm excited to kind of hone it in and kind of figure it out. So, yeah.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add? I understand that there was a motion to move into the voting procedure, but I turned that down because I could see there was a lot of, or at least some concerns about this vote, and since people have spent substantial amounts of time putting this together, I would like, so when we do move into like a voting procedure, the voting is very well informed, because I know not everyone goes to Reform Committee. So is there now like a much more general sense of what this vote has to do with? VPSA Tongu?
So once we vote on this today and then it goes to Reform Committee, will they then, I guess, like reform this particular resolution and then bring it back to Student Senate for us to vote on?
I believe that's a question for AC Welch, if you want to answer that, or Senator Gumediala, whoever. Thank you.
Hello. Okay. Yeah, so we'll be meeting again, as I said, on Tuesday at noon. We'll just be going over this again, and hopefully Senator Conjure said she would be coming, and more members from SciFun will be coming to talk about what exactly they'd like to see and how that wording should be played out. And hopefully we can bring it back in a couple weeks, well, after we sort that out.
Thank you. AC Welch?
I forgot forgot the tabling motion exists, and I would like to do that one
You'd like to bring that up?
instead of the vote.
All right,
Yes.
so you'd like to have a motion to table this. Senator Zernick, do you second that? Okay, so all those in favor of this motion to table this vote, please raise your hands nice and high. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, we are now going to move into the official voting procedure. This is a vote to table the vote on the approval of the stipend reform. So the polls are open. A is in favor, B is abstaining, and B is opposed, my apologies, and C is abstaining. And once again, this is a vote to table this vote. Waiting on a few more. Okay, the polls are now closed. With all those in favor of tabling this vote, that passes. So this will be tabled for discussion and then re-brought to Campus Council at a later time. Thank you all. All right, now we are going to move on to the discussions. So we have a discussion on student leadership and academic standing resolution. So Senator Gumijala, would you like to get us started on that?
Okay, so when Reform started working on these resolutions, we were planning on just doing one to talk about the new additions to the student handbook regarding leadership eligibility on campus. But we decided that there were different, I guess, topics that we wanted to cover in the fact that you are required to be in good conduct standing as well as good academic standing in order to be eligible for student leadership positions on campus. So we decided to separate them into two different resolutions, and you should have both of them. So the first one we're looking at is the academic standing one. Again, these are resolutions that are basically just saying that the Student Government Association condemns these changes. And yeah, if anyone has any feedback, please let us know. Right now, also come to Reform this week again on Tuesday at noon. I'm hoping that we'll be able to bring these to a vote the next time we're here. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you. DOC Logan, can we get a mic to the back, please? Thank you.
Hello. Just first note on is the discussion topic just academic standing right now?
The discussion topic on the agenda is student leadership and academic standing, the resolution.
Okay, never mind. Come back to me.
Thank you. Does anyone have any discussion thoughts to add to this discussion? President Becker?
I just want to say how excited I am to see a resolution. I think this is a really powerful means by which we, as this group of student leaders, can kind of declare things to administration and state the student sentiment on different topics. So yeah, no, I'm just really happy to see that there are resolutions like this. Is a really great opportunity for us to make our voice heard. So, yeah.
Thank you. President Becker? Nope, sorry, DOC Logan, you just spoke. My bad.
Just language things. I would say in the second clause, whereas the Student Government Association does not feel comfortable, something stronger, SGA is not comfortable, SGA will not, something. That's my only minor language note, and I'll come on Tuesday with more thoughts.
Thank you, DOC Logan. All right, are there any further comments? VPSA Tumbu?
Just a comment. I think this is great, as Miles said. I think also we should bring this discussion, we should think about ways that we can bring this entire student body into this discussion, and maybe having a more powerful voice to attack the administration with. I don't know.
Thank you. Senator Collinger, is that a hand? No? Okay. Senator Gumijala?
So that's actually something that we talked about in Reform Committee as well, was just how I guess we wanted to go about presenting this, as well as the other resolutions that we're working on regarding the new Associate Director of Student Activities, and just how, basically what would be the reaction and kind of like what would be the consequences of drawing more attention to how we feel about this, and whether or not that would lead to possibly like even more kind of interference. So just something that we've been talking about as well.
VPSA Tombu?
So to your first point about like how to reach more students, I think social media is a really big tool that you could use. Also tabling, that's one way you can really face students, like have that face-to-face contact and just make them a little bit more aware so that you have a little bit more backing with this resolution. And I think, I don't know, if the student body is clearly in favor of this and we bring this to administration, I think speaks a lot louder than us as like a cabinet. Just saying that the students feel this way, if we have like the numbers backing up.
Senator Gumidiala, my bad.
Yeah, I completely agree. I guess it was more of the point was whether or not I don't know how to say this particularly, but I guess like whether or not that would be the best option to like have like that louder platform or not was something that we talked about, but we'll definitely explore that more.
DOC Logan?
Just to clarify, because I brought up that concern in reform when it was starting to get drafted, and I think that there are really smart ways to outreach this that don't raise the administrative profile of it, because we are in a place where enforcement-wise, like, we have the advantage. I think that because this is specifically hitting at the issue of like implicit discrimination, like biases, people that don't experience academics or conduct the same way as everyone else, we might consider reaching out like specifically to leaders of certain groups or people who are engaged in certain issues around campus and like invite them to whenever the vote is for this. Like that might be a good way to get the people in the room that are really of concern for this resolution. But then just in general, I think it's important to remember, like, we do speak on behalf of the student body, and we have the authority to write resolutions and say that we have the student bodies backing behind us, because that's why we're in this room, so that we don't have to get the whole student body to draft resolutions every time. Yeah.
Thank you. Senator Gumidiala?
Yeah, I agree completely one more time, and also that's something that I could potentially bring to outreach committee as well, so that would be good.
VPSA Tombu?
One thing, I think that, just going to the earlier point, I think that a lot of students, the problem is I found that a lot of students don't know that this is happening, that there is a SAC position, like potentially, like the administration trying to get this position, / also that this resolution / the conduct, the changes in the student handbook. And I think, I don't know, I think it'll be important for them to.
Thank you. Senator Gumidiala, do you have anything to add at this moment? No?
Yep, I agree with this, yes.
Alrighty. Is Chair Mystic? Can we get a mic to Is Chair Mystic, please?
I just, few things. Yeah, I agree with Khadijah. I think that it's important for us to highlight this to students because this, along with a lot of other things that have happened in the last 4 years, I feel like I'm always saying this in student senate, but the last 4 years, like, has, I guess, like, the institution has basically created more and more oversight. And I'm not just talking about, like, you know, basically deciding who and who cannot be an SGA, but also things like the BCC, you know, things like the alcohol agreement, things like, you know, just ridiculous things that we now have to jump through hoops because they want to cover their behinds, so, quote unquote. And so, I don't know, I just feel like it would be impactful if we got as much student involvement, because they didn't listen to us when we decided that this was not a good idea last semester. Because we as a community said we did not want this. And so I'm just saying, like, they're not going to listen to just us. They need to have other students be in that conversation or be around or whatever.
President Becker?
So a couple of thoughts. I completely agree with Khadijah. I think there needs to be some outreach on this. I think the institution has a record of doing things over the summer when students are gone, and then they come back and they can't do anything about it. I think they also have a record of not being particularly overt with some of these like rather large changes. And I think there are a lot of, despite the fact that there have been 2 S&P articles, I think there's still like a lot of students who just don't know about this. I also want to echo Regina's point that it's completely within the purview of the Senate to vote on this on behalf of the student body, and kind of make a statement now, and then we can kind of continue to engage them moving forward. But I think it's also the point of resolutions and the point of having elected individuals is to be able to speak on behalf of their constituents. So.
Thank you. DOC Logan?
Yeah. Something that just comes up for me is making sure that we align our goals with our actions. So trying to get the administration to change the handbook policy is a different goal than SGA signaling to students that this is a safe place for you to apply, and we understand that this administrative policy is bogus. You know, like, those are 2 different things, and that's where different outreach tactics are going to be important, because my understanding from what we've talked about in reform and on CAB is that because we are in a place of this handbook policy can't actually be like effectively implemented without us, we have the upper hand by not full force fighting it and saying like this needs to get repealed. And like the strategy might be to signal to students like, yes, this policy exists, we think it's bogus, we want you to continue to apply to SGA and be a part of our group. Now if we want to change our strategy to let's get this thing repealed, then let's say it in the resolution, then like that let's get this thing repealed, right? And I would love to hear your guys' input on like which direction we should go, but I think those are 2 different resolutions and we should decide which one we're gonna do.
Senator Pedro Santa?
So if, I guess this is good. I'm not saying it's not good, but I guess like how much does this really, like how much weight does this really carry? I guess if we were to put this forward, or whatever the terminology is, then would we get in trouble by the college if we don't follow their, like the policy in the handbook? Or irregardless of what we say, can we still follow suit and just not caring about people's GPA or academic standing in regards to whether or not they enter SGA? Because like, I guess, going off what Regina said, I think it's a cool statement on accessibility to SGA, but I feel like writing a reform or a resolution and not really following suit with action can be just as detrimental if we're saying that, oh, we're gonna make the statement, but we don't try and do something to make SGA more accessible, or follow suit with making sure that we don't, I guess, discriminate based on academic standing. So yeah, I guess that's just my question. Will we get in trouble if we go against the school policy?
DOC Logan?
It depends on how you define trouble. You know, the administration can make our lives hard in many different ways. As the handbook policy stands, the administration does not have off the bat purview to keep people from applying to SGA or kick them out of SGA. It is, and someone correct me if I'm wrong because it's been a while since I've read the handbook, like this specific thing. It's up to the person themselves if they are put in good or bad academic or conduct standing to step down. And basically, as we've discussed this, like the biggest concern I see personally is that students read this handbook policy and they're like, oh, I can't apply to be an SGA anymore, so like I'm not gonna do it. I think there's a much lower threat of someone applying, becoming in good, or becoming in bad academic or conduct standing, and the administration like hitting it down every single time. And that's why, just with the way it's set up in the position that we're in now and like all the administrative fights that we're taking on now, I would recommend that we go, like, that a resolution, kind of back to Carlos's point, like, a resolution is significant because we can, like, publicize this. We can do, like, what Khadijah was saying, like, through social media and stuff, publicize it to students, like, hey, this issue came up. This is our statement on it. This is how we will be maneuvering with this new administrative policy without going and knocking on Kington's door and being like, this has to be repealed because, like, this is what we think, if that makes sense. So I think that resolutions can do a really good job in us saying our position to the student body. And it is a matter of like outreach to get that message out, to talk to people, to say like, hey, this is what this resolution is about.
PPSA Tombu?
Okay, something I just thought of is just like, what will happen once the SAD position, like once that person is hired? We don't really know much about like their purview, and so maybe they could have like some authority over like pulling out applicants if like through some screening process and pulling out unqualified, I guess, or yeah, applicants.
East Shore Mystic?
So one thing with Khadijah, they do that for ACEs. So they already do a background check whenever someone tries to work for ACEs. ACEs is all campus events, student safety, just if you didn't know. But also one thing with the resolution, I feel like a resolution from SGA kind of gives a large voice and like a concise voice to what we feel about this issue. Oftentimes the administration uses excuses that we are not organized and we are not cohesive with what we want. And so a resolution like this that opposes something that they specifically did has that cohesive voice that won't let them, mess with us or whatever.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? Senator Jones? My bad, I didn't see you. Can we get a mic to Senator Jones, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I think this resolution isn't necessarily going to do anything against admin, it's kind of self-enforced. How we select people, so this is kind of an internal statement about what we believe. But I think it's a step one at the very least in all the conversations about how we approach this with admin afterwards should come after we pass a resolution like this. And so if you'd like to be part of those conversations, come to Reform.
Thank you. President Becker?
So two things. So one, in terms of the results of passing a resolution, I want to address Carlos's point. It's much the same way that we use student initiatives, where like me as like an individual can go into someone's office and say, this is what students have told me, this is what they think. But then it's another thing for me to come back and say, you know what, like 800 students voted on something and 90% of them were in favor of this, or like the student senate said this. So it's just additional backing for cabinet as we're like going in and trying to make these changes to have that additional proof. So I think they're helpful in that regard, but I
Senator Jones, do you have, no, nothing to add? Senator Pedro Santo? Can we get a mic to Carlos, please? Thank you.
There like statistics or I guess like stuff in the past that like this policy has inhibited students from entering leadership positions, or is it like just out of curiosity?
President Becker?
So it's kind of tricky just because of the private nature of the information, but like I know for a fact that, not in my time here, but there are presidents who preceded me that most certainly would not have been eligible for the position based on these new guidelines had they been implemented at that time. So like I can think of several individuals that I know off the top of my head that like this would have impacted directly. And so there's only so much information we can have, but I know like it exists.
Casey Welch.
So, like, just real quick, like, as far as like what happens right now with this, like, when you submitted your applications for senator, none of you were asked for like your academic or conduct standing, because we can't know that. Like, if we were to ask you that, it would be kind of messed up, I think, to like, I don't know, ask for that private information of you in a way. Maybe illegal too. I don't know like how they envisioned enforcing this. The worst nightmare scenario is like what Khadijah said, where like the SAT comes and like they are that mechanism that does that. That's what keeps me up at night, I think. Yeah, but right now it's not happening.
Thank you. President Becker?
I'm so sorry for talking so much. That would not be FERPA compliant for us to have that information. And so my understanding is the intended implementation is similar to that of ACES, where the list of applicants would go directly to student affairs, who would then vet the applicants for the new like limitations, and then the people who make it through that would then get filtered to us. I think is my understanding of their intention of how it would go.
Yikes. Right. So, do we have any other comments to add to this discussion? No? Seeing none. This is a discussion, so we don't need to vote or anything. We're just gonna move on to the next discussion topic. I'm sure that one will be revisited back to Student Senate. So the next item on the agenda is another discussion topic, and it is on student leadership and conduct standing resolution. The differentiation between the last discussion was academic standing, this one is conduct standing. So whoever is speaking on that, Senator Gumijala.
All right, same deal. I already talked about this. If anyone has anything that they want to say, go ahead, please.
Casey Welch.
I think one of the things I would love to hear senators discuss like their opinion on in this resolution is like in reform, which is a much smaller group of people, we had this very, I don't know, it's a sensitive conversation and like difficult and like conceptually difficult, but the very last line is like, we tried to put together the kinds of things that like SGA as a community won't tolerate from leadership. And this is from the list that the executives last year put together as like what gets someone in bad conduct standing. And we basically selected things out of that. Yeah, so I don't know, I'd like to hear discussion of that.
Thank you. H. Chair Mystic.
Just one thing I guess we'll touch on with like conduct is that there's two different processes, I believe, where there's the Title IX process and then there's the just regular conduct process that doesn't go through the Title IX office, doesn't go through the same processes and official officialness as the Title IX office does, where it only goes through one person, that's the Dean of Students. So that for me is just like a red flag, and I would love if like we can also talk about or like think about how we can like push the school also to improve that process, because it's clearly biased if it's only one person making the decision at the end of the day. And so how we can make, our conduct process as good and as, I'm not gonna say as good, but as, I guess made up as robust as, Title IX. Because I feel like it's just a completely different world with conduct. So, yeah.
Senator Pietro Santa.
What kind of conduct are we like saying that we are okay with that maybe SG or the administration wouldn't be okay with? like just smoking weed, is that literally the only reason why we're like just saying so people can come? Is that it?
AC Welch?
Drug use is one thing, alcohol use, and retaliation is another one we took out, which could be a discussion. The student handbook defines retaliation against like one's rapist as harassment, and it's something that if it put you in bad conduct standing, you cannot be a student leader.
Yikes. Senator Gumidiala.
Also, it was more of not necessarily like, oh, we're okay with these things, like go for it, but more of like the fact that we put in here, like whereas people of color are more likely to be targeted and minorities, there's a bias, and Grinnell College is not an exception to that. So that was also more of the motivation for this one in particular.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments to add to this discussion? Services Coordinator Timutemwa? Can we get a mic to Joshua, please? Thank you.
So while I do understand, I'm sort of curious, when we removed drugs, did we like specify which class, like weed, obviously, but like, I think what Carlos is getting at is like, if we get into like really extreme cases, is that still, or is it at the discretion of like the hiring committee to understand? This is just a clarification question.
Senator Gumidiala or AC Welch, do you want to speak to that?
So I'll try. Yeah, that was kind of why we wanted feedback on this, is because we weren't sure about just how to phrase like this last one and what again like we're going for with this in terms of what we don't tolerate, because those lines like can be kind of blurry, and how specific I guess we also wanted to get with this. So yeah, that is a question we could discuss further.
Senator Christian?
I think what's also important to think about is like what we feel is appropriate to come under the like title head of like conduct. And I think like a lot of things with drug use and alcohol use in more extreme cases feel more of like occasionally like a mental health issue or like another like larger problem that I don't feel like should be like mediated. And I don't feel like in reform committee we felt like should be mediated by like this like overarching decision. Well, because it seems like a more nuanced issue, and I also feel like isn't really representative of like what we feel should mitigate who gets to be in leadership roles.
Thank you. AC Welch?
Yeah, I agree with Senator Christian, and I think what Joshua brought up is important, and that's like these kinds of lines are like where it gets difficult, as Jude said. I personally believe that like addiction does not make someone ineligible for like incapable of taking a student leadership position. That's what I think, and all of you senators, your votes are worth 10 times mine. So it's important what you guys think. And oh yes, white people are largely allowed to be addicted to things and still be student leaders. Like, to Siamala's point, it's not like that we're saying go for drug use, but that like if it's based on the conduct standing, like people of color don't use drugs more than white people do, but they are more likely to be like picked up by police or campus safety because of inherent bias, and it's just like an access issue, and it's bad for our organization and bad for our campus, and yeah, my opinion.
Thank you. Senator Zernig? Can we get a mic to the Senator's Ernie, please?
Thank you. I just want to say I really like this resolution, and I think you guys did a really good job of making the differentiation between the ones that we don't tolerate and the ones we do. I support those. Additionally, I think that it's important that this policy is right now structured as like a catch-all, like any conduct, any bad conduct standing, you cannot be in a student leadership position. And so I would love if somebody in CAB or someone with more experience could talk about the processes that already exist within SGA in terms of like, because I know there's a process if you miss more than 2 Senate meetings, right? And so I feel like this isn't like if there are extreme cases that something else is going on, there are other situations, and so to cut it out of like the catch-all strategy, I think it's fine in terms of talking about more extreme drug use rather than just weed. And
Thank you, Senator Zernig. AC Welch. Do you have anything to add?
We have no process right now. It's just how people vote, at least for senators. Treasurer Galani might be able to speak more to like other hiring or Miles.
Treasurer Ercolani.
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to senators or cabinet officials, we have the processes that are outlined in the Constitution. Senators have to be elected in the first place, and then there are ways to impeach them if information comes to light at a later date or people aren't fulfilling their responsibilities and obligations to SGA. For other student leaders that work under SGA, we have a personnel panel at the moment that is comprised of the SGA treasurer, the SGA president, and the Judicial Review and Oversight Committee chair. Any hiring and firing decisions go through that panel and are decided on a majority vote system based on the need for the position and the qualifications of the candidate. And I'm sure like the policies that would be covered by this would be taken under heavy consideration by any such panel and the people that would be serving on that panel into the future. I know that we would at the moment be concerned about certain issues more than we would be concerned about others that might be covered by this policy, as it exists, as it's been articulated by the administration.
Point of information by staff, you said there are senators and then there was SGA staff you mentioned. Do you mind specifying who those, like what those job roles are?
I mean, those are, we pay a myriad of people here. Yourself, for example, as the president of the Senate, the technical advisor, the Green Fund co-chair, the SHIC admins. We pay many people to do just various different jobs. Like, we don't have functional control over class ambassadors, but we pay them, we pay the poster, we pay concerts workers, we pay the poster designer, we have an extensive list of people that we hire and fire functionally. And this panel has now the ultimate oversight authority. Well, I mean, technically the Senate has the ultimate oversight authority over everything, but the panel is the next step down from that at the moment.
Thank you for that clarification. Ace Chair Mystic, is that a point to speak? Yeah. Can we get a mic to Ace Chair Mystic? Thank you.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so I just think that with this whole situation, I think that specifically citing, students of color, students from marginalized groups are automatically at a default to be hit hard from this, as well as the academic probation situation. I think that given the fact that last year, we literally saw an investigation of the Black community happen, I think that this is more useful now than ever, and I think that, I think this is important.
Thank you. President Becker?
Yeah, I totally echo everything Cielo says. I think this is really important. I'm glad this is coming forward. I think one thing to share that I've just been kind of mentally chewing on that was brought to me was that this kind of seems almost like a cop-out on administration's part, where it's just kind of a blanketed approach to kind of like violent offenses and then non-violent like drug offenses, whereas alternatively they could just kind of increase expulsions for violent offenders on campus and kind of eliminate that, or it's a semester-long suspension, right? So after a semester you are back in good conduct standing. But it seems there's like these more systematic issues of like, if there are people doing like these terrible things, why do we keep them on campus and prevent them from being student leaders? Whereas there are people who are doing what we as a community have deemed less bad, such as like drug use, that are then getting thrown into the same group. So I think there are different ways and measures you could approach this, and I think different things that we as like cabinet and execs can bring to administration given the oomph of a resolution like this.
Thank you, President Becker. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to add to this discussion topic? I don't see any hands or anything. AC Welch?
I know it's getting like a little late, but it would be awesome to hear like a little more feedback about the things that like are listed on here. Sort of, I don't know, maybe questions or comments in the vein of Joshua's, things like that. I think it's really important that like we all are kind of, I don't know, maybe not necessarily on the exact same page, but like you have thought out and like decided which things like we as an organization think mean you cannot be like a student leader here.
Thank you. Senator Pietro Santa, can you please get a mic?
Thanks, Riley. So in these resolutions, are you like allowed to put statistics? Like, can you put in the amount, like when you talk about institutional racism and bias against people of color, like state, like blatant statistics that show that in order, I mean, like, can you do that?
AC Welch?
We could do that. We can do it, I don't think we can do it for like Grinnell, but we could do it for like law enforcement in the United States maybe. I don't think we
have for Grinnell. I mean, I was looking up right now. The Grinnell Police Department has like annual reports on their like traffic violation, a bunch of other stuff. Is there any way you can like go to the police department and ask to see their annual reports, and then put in, I don't know, the demographics of how many students, or you can just do Grinnell Town, were arrested or charged for any conduct violation, or if there's that, or if that exists on campus in some way and is allowed to be, put on.
DPA Murphy?
There are some crime stats that Campus Safety puts out. You got an email about it a couple weeks ago, but as far as how that relates to conduct standing, you can't actually gather any information from it. It's just aggregated data. And anything JUDCO, CHB, nobody will know about. It's a sealed file. There is no record kept except for what dean of students will be able to access.
So like, and I didn't mean just in relation to conduct standing, but just in general, like where you have the sentences about implicit bias or institutional racism, like just having statistics about Grinnell Town, I don't know, just like police statistics or campus safety statistics, not in relation to how many people then are not allowed, are influenced or impacted on how they can gain a leadership role, but just in general, yeah.
Viva Murphy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm still, just could you clarify what exactly, what sort of breakdowns you would want to see? Because I think there are potentially ways, and I could.
So I was just thinking like, just if we're talking about arrests based on drug abuse or drug use, putting the demographics or like the percentages of people who were arrested, these many were like people of color, or break it down even more or something like that, just so that there's, because I was thinking about what Salas said, that like when you put stuff like this, they're like kind of like buzzwords, and it can be kind of like a contentious point, and I feel like something that would help support that would be statistics. I mean, if they're available. if that's possible, that was just an idea.
Thank you. VPA Murphy, do you have a direct response to that?
Yeah, I'm thinking for campus, probably not for town, possibly for county. I think that's the best place you're probably going to find anything. Powashik County stats.
Thank you. DOC Logan? Can we get a mic to DOC Logan, please? Thank
Yeah,
you.
I appreciate what Carlos brought up. I think that in our resolutions, it would just be a really good practice to start citing more. So like I hear what you're saying, Carlos, and I think that even if we can't find a statistic like about Grinnell College, even statistics about the experience at liberal arts colleges or some other tangentially related thing that could be like extrapolated to why we're concerned about the experience at Grinnell College would be really useful and powerful in this. So thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, DOC Logan. VPA Murphy, do you have anything to add? Chair Mystic? Can we get a mic, please? Thank you very much.
Hey, yeah, with what Regina was just saying, what is it? I think also like specifically citing, I think a specific thing that we can talk about is like statistics about how people of color are seen as violent people. I know there's lots of statistics out there about, you know, K-12 suspensions, expulsions, you know, prison to pipeline, that type of stuff. I think that that would be very helpful, especially with like the line about, you know, bias. Yeah, I'll be there. What are we, is this going to be discussed at Reform? Sorry, I just need to make sure. I will be there on Tuesday.
Will this be discussed at Reform Committee? Yes, this will be discussed at Reform Committee on Tuesday. Thank you, Chair Mystic. President Becker, do you have anything to add? Okay, Senator Pietrasanta? You're a clown. All right. Does anyone else have anything to add? I don't see any. Oh, Senator Guidiola, my apologies.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks so much for being involved with this discussion, and I hope that you guys come on Tuesday, and this was really, really helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you all for your helpful insight to that. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which are the cabinet reports. So AC Welch.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Treasurer Ercolani? No. Assistant Treasurer Weber is absent. DOC Logan? Oh, Treasurer Ercolani. Just kidding, we're going to backtrack for a hot second. Can we get a mic to Quinn? Thank you.
If anybody has any questions for either myself or Amanda, since Amanda's not able to be here to deliver the oral report, feel free to ask.
Do you have any questions about that? AC Welch?
Amanda sent me a report. It will be in the minutes.
All right, thank you. Treasurer Ercolani, do you have anything else? Nope. Nope, okay. DOC Logan?
I did send my report late, so it'll be in the minutes, so I won't bore you with all the details. Sorry, Dylan. The one thing that I will emphasize is I would love to see more SGA people, committees, individuals, senators, whoever, coming to outreach if you have anything cool, interesting that needs to be outreached, because the things that are on my radar are limited because I can't always go to all of the things that you guys do, like all of the different projects that you're working on. So anything that you do that you're like, I wish more people knew about this, come to Outreach Committee so that more people will know about it.
Thank you. VPAL Murphy? Can we get a mic, please, to Riley? Here we go.
Just one more quick reminder, Tuesday 11 in here for the Higher Learning Commission, also Office Committee on Thursday 10, and I need a student for the Tutorial Advising Committee. But I also sent in my report late to Dylan, it'll be in the minutes. It seemed to be a trend this week. But I wanted to let everybody know that I started to work on the Grinnell Undergraduate Research Journal, so get ready to start hearing about that. It's gonna happen this year, I promise. I can also promise Office Committee, Thursday at 10, I will have chocolate chip cookies. Fresh baked, be there. That's all.
Thank you. President Becker?
Yeah, so this week was kind of a lot of getting caught up from fall break, a lot of responding to emails, running through student initiative stuff, meetings and more meetings, and then some other meetings. Yeah, I should look at my calendar. I don't have any schedules. I do a lot of stuff.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Council Chair Christensen is absent. Secretary Chair Totowa. Can we get a mic, please?
Only thing I want to bring up is Exco. We are having Exco. I apologize, like finding the right chair was hard, and I'm still training the new one, but things are going well. Please, like if you want to teach a class, do it. It does not matter what you want to teach it on. If you want to take a class, it's really cool. For those of you who don't know, Exco is experimental college, and students teach whatever they want. As long as it's legal, we allow students to book a room and teach whatever they want.
Thank you. H. Chair Mystic. You skipped Khadijah now? Oh, my bad, I did. VPSA Tambu. Sorry. I apologize for that.
You're good.
I was getting too ahead of myself.
I just had a lot of meetings with administration concerning consistent issues. I had some meetings with some student groups just to better like help them with various things that they want to do on campus. Yeah, a lot of meetings like all the other execs.
Thank you. Now, H. Chair Mystic.
So yeah, had meetings, had stuff, office hours stuff, making events. I'm still trying to figure out a space for the Latin American Festival. It's been almost a month, but that's gonna happen. What else? Beyonce has been figured out. It's gonna be a main quad. Yeah. I can tell y'all the date right now too. It will be, it's like, no, I can't tell you the date right now. But I can tell you the movies that we'll be having for the rest of the year, semester. Sister Act on the 9th of November. Mamma Mia 2 on the 16th of November. Black Klansman on the 30th of November. And does anyone want to do a drum roll for the last one? That's really late. On the 7th of December, Elf. Woo! That was like the worst. I'm sorry, that was the worst. I got y'all's attention, didn't y'all? I got y'all's attention. Alright.
Thank you, H. Chair Mystic. All right, it's about that time. Adjourning motion, President Becker, seconded by Treasurer Kalani. All those in favor of closing the meeting? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay. Happy Sunday. Student Senate has now adjourned. See you all next week in this room at 7 p.m. Good night.